The right honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know the member for Kitchener-Conestoga is passionate about ensuring seniors and kids get access to dental care. I'm happy to announce that in the first few weeks, over 600,000 seniors have successfully signed up for the Canadian Dental Care Plan. While the Conservative Party voted against funding dental care to those who need it most, we want to reassure Canadian seniors that on this side of the House, we will always have their backs, we'll fight for them, and we'll make sure that that leader never cuts essential supports to seniors.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
After 8 years, the Prime Minister is not worth the cost of housing, which has doubled since he promised to lower it. Now we have a brand new phenomenon of the middle-class homeless. In fact, according to the Executive Director of the Royal Canadian Legion of Nova Scotia, members of the Canadian Forces are now forced to live in tents, in cars, and to couch surf. There are 30 homeless encampments in Halifax after 8 years of this Prime Minister. But why would the Prime Minister then plan to go ahead with a $450 a year rent increase to our armed forces members who are already forced to live in tents?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, military members and their families are a priority, and we're taking steps to ensure that they are supported. We're investing $445 million over the coming years to tackle the supply of military housing. And when the Conservatives had an opportunity to support our military personnel, they chose not to. The Conservatives stood up in this House and voted against supporting our men and women in uniform just last December.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that is an outrageous non-response to the men and women who put their lives on the line for this country. He rewards them with a tent or a couch in someone else's basement to sleep in. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, there's a 177% increase in Bagotville and a 261% increase in the wait line for military housing. And now he plans a $450 rent increase on the people who protect our country. Shouldn't he be ashamed of himself?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we'll take no lessons from the Conservatives who nickel and dimed our military service members and veterans through 9 years of their time in office and even dropped military funding to below 1% of GDP, Mr. Speaker. We will continue to step up, including with $445 million for military housing in the coming years as we continue to honor and support the women and men who serve our country with their lives.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Honors them with a tent to live in. He honors them with a $450 increase in their rent. Before this Prime Minister, we didn't have masses of military members living in tent cities, Mr. Speaker. They could put a roof overhead. In fact, we didn't have 30 tent cities in Halifax. We didn't have 2 million people lined up at food banks in lines that are reminiscent of the Great Depression. We didn't have young people forced to wait till they're age 40 to get a home. The good news is life was not like this before this Prime Minister, and it won't be like this after he's gone.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Why doesn't he just say it straight out, Mr. Speaker? He's planning to make Canada great again. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, Canada is great. Canada is the best country in the world. And yes, there are challenges, and that's why we're stepping up to invest, whether it's $445 million for military housing, whether it's stepping up with dental care for vulnerable seniors or youth, whether it's cutting child care fees in half, Mr. Speaker, whether it's continuing to step up for vulnerable youth. We are going to be there for Canadians while he proposes cuts to services, cuts to programs, and cuts to the supports that Canadians need.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
So that's what the Prime Minister has to say to the 2 million people lined up around street corners clamoring for the food bank after 8 years. That things are just going great. To the people in Montreal who've seen their rent quadruple after his 8 years, life is just great for them too. To the Torontonians who have to spend 25 years now saving up for the down payment on the average home, he says things are just great. How can he possibly fix the misery he caused if he can't even realize that it's right in front of his face?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition may not think that Canada is the best country in the world, but we do. And the reality is we recognize Canadians are struggling right now, and that is why we continue to invest in supports for them, whether it's cutting childcare fees in half, whether it's investing in the kinds of jobs and careers we're going to need in the #1 battery supply chain country in the world, in drawing in significant investments right across the country, in moving forward into a brighter economic future, while we recognize that Canadians need support now. He offers fear and cuts while we offer support and a brighter future. That's what we're going to continue.